Hello, it's Wombs with a View, and tonight's episode we've got 4 cancelled artists. We've got the famous artist Birdie Rose, the dyslexic feminist on Twitter, Jester Walls, and Nina Paley, and it's going to be an art attack. So all of you have been cancelled, and you're all on our podcast, and I can't believe it. We were so lucky. Shall we start off with Nina? Actually, at the moment, you're the one that's name is flying about everywhere. It's been Jess, the dyslexic feminist, but at the moment it's Nina. So please, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got cancelled?
My most recent cancellation, which is different than my previous cancellations and much better, hence me being here. So I am an animator and I guess just a general artist, illustrator, cartoonist. I actually do some textile work as well. I did some embroidermation, and quiltimation, not doing that much now. And I made a film it came out in 2008 called Sita Sings the Blues. That's what I'm best known for. And it was a festival darling, and I was all lauded and hailed and a darling and, oh, wow, she made a animated feature film all by herself. And in 2017, I guess I came out as gender critical on Facebook, and people did not like that. And a couple months later, I shared this song, If a Person Has a Penis, He's a Man, which is written by a friend of mine who has since died. Her name was Connie Bryson. For some reason, I guess this song has been attributed to me. I didn't write it. I just shared it. And that was shortly after, I think, a women's march in Canada, where a woman held up a sign that said biology is not hate, and then Morgane Ogre went after her. And that's why I decided to share that, is because I was just seeing women just get hunted, and I wanted to stand up a little bit. And I got banned from Facebook after that. I got banned again when I documented that. I've been banned from Facebook over and over again, to the point where I very seldom share real stuff on Facebook anymore. And I got blacklisted in my town. Screening of my film in my town got canceled. Somebody rented the theater like half a year later, and that got canceled. People have been lying about me, just saying just freaking appalling things. And as you can imagine, canceled from a lot of film festivals, canceled from animation festivals, mostly not invited to animation festivals. Get to read about myself online, these think pieces where people talk about how horrible I am. Never talking to me, never, they don't read what I actually say, right? They just hear some friend of theirs say that I'm transphobic, and then, that's enough. It's not worth their time to read or listen to me. But occasionally there's some festival that doesn't get the memo and actually invites me still. And this most recent cancellation was that, one of those. And I thought, well, time has passed and maybe things are okay now. And I did like a interview with them. They were very nice. I really enjoyed it. They wanted me to do more stuff with them. And then a month later, I get the email saying, so sorry, we removed you from the whole thing because somebody said that you were a transphobe. and we feel terrible about this. Oh, we know that you're not, but we had to do this. And I've gotten so many emails like this. And of course, I've watched all of you, right? Like on Twitter, I'm watching the progress in the UK. And how do you pronounce her name? Sari, the woman who the police... Carrie, yes. Yeah, a more recent instance. But, she just amazed me. She was like, come arrest me. And I was like, man, they are fighting over there and they are winning. And I'm so sick of it here. And so I just tweeted this time, like, yep, canceled again. I haven't named the festival because I don't know how I want to write about this. But yeah, this was different than the other times I've been canceled. This time, all of this turfy Twitter came out in support of me, as I've seen them come out in support of other artists, Birdie and Jess. And Dyslexic Feminist, I am not as familiar with your story, so I'm eager to hear it. But I definitely saw the support come. I learned about Jess and Birdie because of people supporting them on Twitter. Graham Linehan, who I knew already, I drew his avatar. He did a thing, just saying that this had happened, and suddenly I have a lot more Patreon support than I had before. So this is different. It's not great, but I feel a lot more hopeful than I did with the previous cancellations, where there was like no recourse. Nobody cared and nobody believed me. And now people acknowledge that it's happening, and actually, like, a lot of individuals, I think, are concerned about this and want to help.
Small wins.
Cancelled artists. Yeah.
Yeah, small wins. Jess, you were cancelled. You had your work taken away from the Royal Academy of Arts, but didn't they reinstate you? Have they put you back, your artwork?
They did. They have. Yes, they have.
And how come in Britain your orders went through the roof after your cancellation, but that's not happening in America? What's happening in America? Is it because it's such a large country that the news isn't filtering out that artists are being cancelled? Because we're quite a small island. What is it? I don't understand why it exploded. Jess's story exploded all over the news.
I don't think it's as simple as that, though, because that story exploded over the news. It didn't explode over the news when I wrote my piece in 2019. It was much like with Nina. Like, it's been a slow, like, horrible 2 years until it got so... It was so big when it happened that it got mainstream. That's the difference. And the difference is that 2 weeks prior to that, Maya won her case. And, like, the whole mood was very different when that happened. It was just the right time and the right place for it to happen. Because the other places, much like with Nina, when I did my thing was doing collaborations with places, with companies that I thought were great to collaborate with, and they got piled on horrifically in a way that I ended up not wanting to do that anymore, because I felt horrible, because I wasn't going to turn around and repent. Sometimes they wanted to stand up for me, and then they got absolutely treated horribly, and then you don't want to be that person that's responsible for someone else being piled on because you tarred them with the brush, kind of thing. So I think it was just the right time and the right sort of size of organization to have walked into this for it to happen. I think another time, because it went on for 2 years, and
I didn't realize that this happened in 2019. No.
Lots of people haven't, but it's been going on since 2019. So when the Royal Academy thing happened, for me, at the start of it, I didn't even think it was gonna go like this. I thought, oh well, here we go, another one. Screw that, fuck it. I'll find another place that I'm not going to talk about supplying my work to, because that's how I've been handling it. I've just not told people about it. So I think, yes, Britain is smaller, and yes, there's a vocal history here. You've got the whole suffragette movement and like women's movement here, grassroots movements have always been around here, but I do think it's got a lot to do with timing right now.
But it's quite interesting with the Royal Academy thing, is that none of the academicians, which are the artists, none of them actually made a statement or stood up for you publicly.
No,
I mean, the art world is so captured, no one is saying anything. It's not like academia.
One contacted me privately, but...
Yeah, one contacted you privately. But the thing is, although it was resolved and you were reinstated, the art school They're furious.
Yeah. It's
The kids are like seething, and this is the next generation.
Yeah. What's worse about that is that I got quite a lot of students from the Royal Academy, like female students, contacting me, saying that they were so happy that I was reinstated, and they were absolutely horrified to see the Royal Academy students making that statement, because that's like what some idiot that runs that account who speaks for all the students, which they don't, but it just creates a climate that's really, really horrible for female students or anybody there who agrees with with our point of view. Like, yeah, it's not great, but I don't know. I'm like the eternal optimist. I kind of feel like something is changing currently. I really do.
Rachel, I had a quick look at your website, and your art last year was taking a van. Is that right? You were taking a van.
Yeah,
I like that. It's all about.
Good.
Well, because I've been cancelled. I mean, the thing is, what I was going to say is there's lots of different type of artists, and I don't sell anything. So if I become notorious, I've got nothing to sell. I sort of been reliant on commissions, lecturing, and in museum shows, and then museums don't bloody show you. You can show in like the biggest museums in the world, and they don't pay you. Do you know what I mean? So basically, when I was cancelled, I lost everything. Do you know what I mean? I lost my whole income, and no one will show me. And I thought, well, fuck that. I'll just like paint on my van and just go around and show that. Luckily, I've just got another van now, so I've got another project.
You're gonna have to tell how you took the photos though, because I love that.
Which photos?
Well, you were talking about affiliate. How you got the photos?
Oh yeah, when I was a TERF.
When you drove the van into the gallery to take the photos.
Oh god, yes, I forgot about that. Yeah. There was a gallery changing shows, and I was in the van, and I just thought the gallery was empty. And I just drove in the gallery, and then just photographed the van. So you got these shots, like you're in. And then just drove off again.
I think that's genius. I think it's brilliant.
Oh yeah.
You should sell. You should. The amount of people that said to me, "Oh, your friend Rachel, that thing. I can't believe it's sold out. I really would buy that." The feminist, just putting it out there.
Yeah, because I got invited to put a piece in the Mal Galleries. It's opening tonight. It's the last person that doesn't know I'm turfy. So they asked me to put a piece in. It's like a 50 by 50. I don't make small works. I make large sculptures. So I just got a piece of turf and just wrote this dyslexic feminist in it. So it's sitting there in a gold frame.
Very punky. You're very punk. I like this. It's in your face art.
I'm curious about the art world. So it sounds like Rachel is in the actual art world that I have never. Well, and Jess also. I've never been a part of the actual art world, right? Nobody with a gallery or a museum is interested in me. I've been like pop culture, mass media, print, and film. So can you tell me a little bit more about that world and what it's been like and what you've been doing in it?
Well, the art world, you mean like the high end of the art world?
Yes, the high art, the conceptual galleries.
No, that's Rachel. That's not me.
No, but I mean, basically, it's just a money laundering business, isn't it? and that's the truth of it. That's what's so nice to be thrown out of it, because you can say that really was shit. Do you know what I mean? The amount of time you've got to see some fucking stick propped against the wall with some academic text and the work is shit. It's just about galleries buying artists and then having to retain the value on the work and selling it. And because I was quite critical about that, I probably wasn't that popular anyway.
Well, how did you get in the world? Like I think they could just smell me, and there was no way I was ever going to be in that world. So how'd you get let in?
Well, I got in kind of late because I had to work all my life, I guess, to earn a living. And I worked in the tech industry, so I was a programmer and I designed computer systems. And I was also a cabinet maker as well. So it means I could create these really sort of large, complex sculptures. So they couldn't fucking ignore me. So I thought, because I started art quite late in my 40s, I thought I'm going to build something effing big. I'd actually won this prize, the Aesthetica prize, for a small artwork that calculated its own value. So all it did is show its value. And I got $5,000 for that. And I thought, well, I'm going to build one like fucking like 7 meters long. And then they really can't ignore it. And I did. And they couldn't. And then it got into the museums. I had it at the V&A. I had another one at the MMCA in Korea, their Modern Museum of Modern Art, and somewhere else. Where else? Anyway, somewhere else big. I can't remember now. Do you see what I mean? And I think it was because of that, I'd had a lot of success very quickly, that a lot of blokes got jealous. And I reckon it was one of those who reported me to Turfs Out of Art, because I was doing like really super like unreasonably well for being sort of like an old woman in the art world. And then basically I got reported to Turfs Out of Art when I was going to give a lecture at Oxford Brookes, because lots of universities were asking me to come and talk, because I'm very big about artists making their own work. You know,
now I remember your story. Now I remember reading about you. Okay. Yes. This was a couple years ago, right? Or like,
yeah, it was 2019. You know, and it's upsetting because I want to empower younger women to make their work. You don't have to sit and do a fucking funding application. You know, just watch YouTube, learn how to weld, learn how to program. You know, you can build. And there's not many people saying that. So being stopped from doing these talks is actually quite depressing, because you realize you're not going to empower these women anymore. Anyway, but I mean, yeah, I was no platformed. About an hour before I was getting on the train, I had a message just to say, oh, there's a booking error. I'm like, you're fucking lying. Do you know what I mean? Because everyone was going mad on Twitter and going, there's a hate speaker coming up. And I'd only liked 2 tweets. That's all I'd done at that point. I didn't know what a TERF was. I mean, that was a joke. I didn't even know what gender critical meant. Well, and the thing that gets me is I'm really shit at lying, and I can't stand people lying. And this whole gender identity thing is based on lies. You know, you're not a man, you're not a woman. Do you know what I mean? You're telling me there's a booking error. It's the lying that gets me.
Yeah, they're so cowardly when they do it. Oh my God.
All of your work for me. So I'm just not the artist that's going to go to the Tate Museum once a year, you know, when I visit London. All of your work to me, I don't need blurb. I get it. I understand. I don't. It does. All of your work doesn't need an essay next to it with, you know, words that I don't understand. That's the Tate Museum.
Because it's like layered, and it's meant to pull people in, and they're sort of highly engineered things which pull in men, you know.
Yeah.
Which into, you know, and then you've got the feminist narrative. I mean, what was really interesting, I sort of got my work on the cover of the FT. And when I was interviewed, they didn't even mention any of the feminist content. So it was just like, you know, algorithms and, you know, algorithmic bias and all. You've got this like narrative to go along with it. But they missed out the whole point that I was using neon and the pricing to refer to women being traded. And people don't want to know that. They don't want feminists in the art world unless you've got your legs apart.
And Birdie, have you found that your income has been affected?
Initially, yeah.
Initially.
When I first got cancelled, yeah. I mean, I don't know if you can call it getting cancelled. Basically, everybody on the scene that I was on stopped buying my art because they heard that I beat up a trans person, which I didn't. But this person made it up, and it has since sort of come out, but not publicly, that it was a lie. But it's not been publicly retracted. So that was my first cancellation, was that. So yeah, it did affect my income. So what I did was I got a job and then decided that maybe I'm not meant to be an artist. But that wasn't working out too well because I was still drawing and stuff. And then I started doing my portraits and I started doing stuff. So just like pushing it out online a bit more, rather than selling it in person. And online it seems to have gone well, and it seems to be going well for me to speak my mind with my art more. Like I tried to speak my mind with my art, but I didn't. I don't know what I did differently this time. I think I just hit on a topic that is really important to a lot of people for good and bad reasons.
Jess, what did you do? I don't even know what you did, because I've looked at your art. It's so beautiful. Your embroidery is just gorgeous. What did you do?
What
to
did
cover
I
this.
do?
Yes.
Well, I exist for starters.
Yeah, you're a woman.
Well, I dared. I think I was such a sort of sore subject and such a thorn in people's eyes, and got such a pushback initially because I look like them. No, well, I do, but also I worked 8.5 years in Soho Theatre. I was, I spent my good part of my 20s and early 30s in fetish clubs. I'm a traitor to the.
That's what it feels like here. Yeah, it feels like the scene I'm on.
That's quite literally what people said. There was someone I've gone off Facebook on my own free will, because I got tagged into some stupid. I find that amazing that people still actually tag me into this as well. At some level, wanting me to read their bullshit, and assuming I won't hit out at them, which I do. But so there was someone who tagged me in something on Facebook just before I deleted myself off of it, saying this person. So this is someone who worked also in Soho Theatre. So someone I've known for a long time, who I've gotten on well with, friendly and everything, tags me in this post. This person has still 46 friends with me in common. And I'm not saying that you should send anything bad towards her, but considering that she's blah, 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 whatever, I think you should really dig deep and see why you're still friends with her. Just because we think of someone as liberal doesn't mean that they really are liberal. And I thought, oh, wow. Praro has found out that I've infiltrated the liberal movement for the 8.5 years that I worked in this. It's so ridiculous. I can't even give it any, I wrote a blog because I started to realize that around me, people started to sound like complete loons. And I just, at the start, it passed me by because I thought they can't actually mean what they say. I didn't, I come across more and more people, genuinely, I come across more and more people who are like, oh, I've been in this. I've just been speaking to Julian from Savage Minds, and she was like, oh, I've been, talking about this, and my professorship wasn't extended in 2013. I'm like, what? I had no idea about any of this in 2013. I was completely oblivious to what was going on. I had no ideas that people wanted preferred pronouns. I had no ideas that people who said that they, were trans, that they actually think that they are the other sex. All of that I did not take serious whatsoever. Just not. In the sense that I always thought, well, live and let live, whatever. If you want to dress up, whatever, dress up. I've got a dad who walks around with fucking fake tits and high heels and puts makeup on, and I could not care less. It's whatever, but not for 1 second did I ever think that anybody was being serious about this. I thought it was just a bit of a polite dance, to just make people feel more comfortable in however they want to express themselves. So I have never had an issue with that, and I still don't have an issue with that. But I do have an issue with authoritarian thought policing, which is how it started to feel. So people that I knew quite well and quite closely started to say things, because I same like Rachel, I can't fucking lie. I can't stand people lying. My face usually gives it away anyway, even if I tried.
But do you think it's something we all have in common, like gender critical, whatever? Yeah. We just can't lie.
Probably, yeah.
Well, maybe just as artists, but yeah, that's like that's like a fundamental character thing about me.
Yeah.
To a fault. Like, it's caused many problems in my life, but I hate lies.
I genuinely think it would probably cause you more problems if you did lie in the long run. I just don't. It's too much. We were watching someone on Joe Rogan the other day when they were talking about the new Texas Institute there, and he was saying something like, I just can't stand lying. It's just there's no point to it. It's too much work. There's no. What's the point of lying? And that's the essence of it. There's just no point. Anyway, when I wrote the thing, it was because people around me, and because I was there for so long, I had these really close-up conversations because I was cutting people's hair, and I went like, listen, so you say this is transphobic, run me through that. What about this scenario is transphobic? Why? Because I don't understand why suddenly you think this situation is, or this person is, and so then people would explain it to me, and I was like, I don't get it. What? It makes no sense. And then I started to like go incognito, and it really felt like incognito. I used to go to Women's Place UK meetings, and as you can imagine, so I work in Soho, I look like this. Incognito is not that easy. So I'd go there being super self-conscious with a fucking hat on and kind of sitting there by myself, listening, going, yes, fuck yes. And this was basically because my husband, he was like, look, this is complete fucking bonkers, but the only way you can do something about it is if you get together with other people and kind of organize and do it in a political kind of way. You by yourself, it'll be difficult to do something. So you reach out to other women and other people who are like-minded. And I thought, well, Fawcett Society has completely thrown women under the bus. Like all the major feminist societies in the UK, they're completely fucking useless. What's there? And then that's how I found Fair Play for Women and Women's Place UK. So I went there, and it really helped to just, like, I hadn't at that point connected to anyone yet. I was very incognito on Twitter, because the only reason I went on Twitter in the first place was because the pile on that I got on Instagram when I wrote my blog was next level disgusting. It was just so
JK
and
Rowling, the rubbish she gets. You're all video nasties. They've made you a video nasty. They're all women and the video nasties now. That's how I feel like that she's been deemed, and all of you. And actually, you're not at all. You're truthful.
But this is I got the wrath of the sort of London alternative scene and the guild of envious embroiderers. That's now my name for them, because they're absolute wankers. I'm not part of some fucking embroidery community. And the thing is, so I know you said that, Rachel, with it's men who got jealous and stuff. You know what? I have to say, in my instance, the utter majority of people trying to pull me down, women.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really disheartening. It's really horrible. But it's been women. There's the odd wanker in the meantime. Me personally, I can't, this is not a generalization as in this is what happens all the time. I've seen the whole death threats and rape threats and all this kind of stuff. And I haven't had like death threats personally. Thank God. I have had, I hope you kill yourself, you or whatever. But the majority of people trying to pull me down and literally harass me, women. And it's heartbreaking. It's really heartbreaking, because you kind of go, fuck. Could I just like take out your brain for a moment and give it a little jiggle and like, what the fuck? Why? And it makes it, but this is the problem. So I've taken lots and lots of screenshots of the text that I got initially, because one day I'm going to make like this huge quilt out of it with all the bullshit that's been thrown at me. And it was everything from, you're a completely fucking asshole, you're, transphobic bitch, blah, blah, blah. I knew it. And this is what I hate almost more, this emotional blackmail kind of, but sort of appealing to me, kind of going, but you should speak to a trans person. It's like, you absolute arrogant fuckwit. What makes you think I haven't? In fact, I've spoken to many. And just this arrogance of thinking that just because they spoke to a trans person that shares their view means that all trans people share their view is just completely ridiculous, because I have spoken to trans people and they have all sorts of different opinions. And one of my friends who is trans, who we disagree, but he was one of the first people to reach out to me when all the hell went loose with the Royal Academy, saying if you need somewhere to hide, like, and that's the thing. I hate this, like, the polarization about it, the whole kind of vilification, but I just cannot pin it all on this is all men doing it, because to me, I mean, there's one particular idiot who's really had it in for me, but the majority in my case has been women, unfortunately.
Have you found that, Birdie?
It's been it's been a lot of women, but I think in my case it's 50-50. There's men and women. The main culprits are a man and some women. But the most severe stuff I'm getting is from a man. The women are sort of like joining in defense of the man. So it's kind of like that. But all of this with my case started with a woman. It started with a woman. But yeah, I've had very similar experiences to Jess, like in terms of like my second cancellation last year, was it? It must have been last year. And that was when the guy who's going after me, who I used to be friends with, put up a status. Basically, actually quite a few people put up a status at the same time on the same day, naming me, linking to my website, and I think they put a picture of me up, or a picture of my artwork, saying this, there's a snake in our community, a fucking awful, disgusting snake in our arts community, and we're going to expose her today, and what she's doing is hateful, she wants trans people to die, or whatever it is they said. And they basically linked to all these articles about trans people being murdered and insinuated that it's somehow my fault. And they linked it to my artwork and basically told people as well that I've been stalking and bullying and harassing trans people in the community for years and years and years. And that's not happened. I mean, like, some of the people they're talking about, I don't know who they're talking about. So I don't even know them. Some of the people they're talking about, I do know them. I'm just not friends with them anymore. And I haven't seen them for years. Like, I haven't seen them for nearly 5 years now. So it was a shock to me that these people I haven't seen were writing all this shit about me. But it's literally because I started doing art portraits of women that were critical of gender ideology. And that was used as an excuse to go after me from people who already didn't like me on the scene. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
so that was used as like the bomb to throw at me, basically. And it's been going on and on and on since. It's non-stop. Every couple of months there's a big thread about me and about how awful I am and all the things I've done. Nobody ever shows any evidence. It's just stalking, harassing, bullying, making people want to kill themselves. Nobody listens to me. Nobody wants to hear that I blocked a lot of these people years ago and I haven't seen them. It's not about that. It's about the fact that I'm being a horrible person by not conceding to this ideology.
But I think it's just a few people like controlling or sort of like whipping up these people. Because
it's a few people whipping everyone up.
Yeah.
Yeah, but there's no adults in the room. That's what gets me. It's like, yes,
they are the adults.
There's psychopathic, loons everywhere. But what got me with my cancellations is, where are the adults? Because when I've been canceled all over the world. It really sucks. Reading lies about me all over the internet sucks. But having it happen in my hometown, that was terrifying.
Yeah, same here.
And just the fact that, like, yes, there's this group of loons that's going to go to the theater and say, ban her. And then the theater banned me. But and then the board of directors of the theater supported the decision to ban me. And it's like, you're the adults, you jerks.
Well, exactly. Yeah. I was just about to say that when you say we're the adults, let's not call it that. Let's call it we're the reasonable people, because I had to deal with fucking adults, proper adults, where you think, what's wrong with you? Like, why would you support something so stupid? But I think it's twofold. It's A, they shit themselves that they're going to be out of the job, or B, they like want to sort of like do the whole virtue dance and go, look how inclusive I am, and here, like, throw that witch on the pyre.
I think we're used as an example of what will happen to you if you don't concede, and I think that people are blackmailed and threatened, and that has happened in my case. People have been threatened with getting the same treatment as me, and if they don't do as they're told, basically. So it's a bit disappointing.
That's not free. My daughter does GCSE art, and she's quite talented, and I'd hope she's going to take it further. But listening to you all, it makes me so worried about the future, that she's not free. She's not, and there will be people above her that will go and tell her that you're not allowed to do this, you're not allowed to say this, you're not allowed to, and that means every other artist is not free. So art is not free.
But historically, artists have always tried to go against that, so that's not going to last long, telling artists what to do.
Well, some do and some don't. I mean, it's not like the dynamics here are unprecedented. They're sped up, and it's bizarre that they've hit us. But I mean, we say burned as a witch, right? Like there have been witch trials in the past. There's been, similar movements. In the US, there was McCarthy blacklists, which affected some of my relatives. What was I going to say? Oh, the jealousy of the people that cancel us. This town that I live in, it's a college town. I should say that my first local cancellation was led by the interim chair of the Gender and Women's Studies department at the University of Illinois, who fancied herself an artist. So what does this woman do? She goes to cancel. She leads a movement to cancel my movie at the stupid little cafe that was showing it, which subsequently went out of business. But there's a lot of really mediocre artists here. Like this is not, Champaign-Urbana, Illinois is not where you go if you're a successful artist.
All the successful artists are mediocre. I mean, that it's all Emperor's News clothes.
Yeah.
They don't want to be exposed for that.
They're like really mediocre. I mean, really, really lame. It's like a whole lame community. Like when I lived in New York, yes, there's mediocrity there too, but there's also like some real, really outstanding artists in some cities, right? Like, so you have, you can be around some really brilliant, talented people. It's really hard to do that here. It's just mediocrity making more mediocrity. And I think they hated me being here. Coming back here, I was born and raised here. I left for 23 years. And the last 10 of those years I was in New York City, and, I was acclaimed and, international reputation and awards and all this shit. They fucking hate that. I think they were just like thrilled to be able to take me down.
Yeah. Can you think of a man? Male artist this has happened to? Because I cannot name.
Not off the top of my head.
No.
But I was gonna say to what you said, Nina. I think people are taking actual pleasure in this. I think they enjoy it. I can see it.
Absolutely.
And I do think jealousy comes into it as well, and it's something that's making people feel better about their situation or their life or themselves, to take someone down like us. Like, I'm not even as accomplished as you three, but for some reason, the people going after me are taking a lot of pleasure in taking me down, especially locally. Locally, there's been calls to organise against me because I need to be stopped, apparently. I've not even done an exhibition here for years. I'll do one.
We just need to make it.
Are you London based?
No, I'm Essex.
I've heard about
I feel like we need to make this more noisy about Birdie, because the really good thing that happened with the Royal Academy, besides obviously all the sales that I made, is I think it backfired. It's a lot like Kathleen's case, it backfired so spectacularly that all these little wank faces now don't fucking dare doing it again, because they're so fucking scared that I'm just going to turn it around and go, fuck you, and then sell more stuff, because that's what happened. Like, the more they tried to push with the Royal Academy, the more people flocked to my online shop and they saw it. So they become the 2 years of this constant nagging, you horrible person, telling friends to disfriend me and all this kind of stuff. It started to die down because they saw that the more they put that out there, the more money I made. And I was like, yeah, go on then.
Yeah, and there's this movement of people that are seeking to support canceled artists like us.
Well,
probably not any canceled artists, but principled canceled artists.
Me, I buy your art.
I've had
But this is the thing. When I wrote the blog, so I mean, I was out of my job. Well, so I had to part ways with Soho Theatre within a couple of months after writing that blog, and part of me anticipated that. I didn't think it would go unnoticed, and it really didn't. And then after like several conversations, we sort of decided it's better to part ways. And so I was at home and I would like go see my hair clients at their places. But ultimately, it gave me a lot more time to concentrate on my art. And ultimately, it also drew a lot of people to me who went like, good for you. Can I commission you to do X, Y, Z? And then And then I ended up like my art's taken over completely. Like I don't have to do hairdressing anymore, thanks to the fact
That's
that
really
I
good.
stuck to my principles. Yeah, but this is the thing. It's like people genuinely started supporting me because I've never been quiet about it, and I've never been even a little bit quiet about it.
I've had like my reservations about being louder. I do want to be louder now, but I've had some things going on in the background that I wanted to sort of make sure that just some things going on in the background. I wanted to sort of make sure that I'm okay to talk about some things because it is so personal, and the people going after me are threatening to sue me for defamation if I talk about it. So I don't have to name any names. I've written a few statuses on Twitter, haven't I? And I don't name any names. And every time I write something without naming anybody, I get threatened with defamation suits. Like I don't get anything in the post. It's just people threaten me online saying we're going to sue you for defamation because you've talked about me. And I'm looking at it like you've just told everyone this is about you. You've just told everyone you're the one doing it. But I wanted to just sort of get myself in a position. I've had a lot going on this year in my personal life as well. And I just wanted to get myself in a position where I can talk about it because a lot of it's been overwhelming over the last 3 years. And I want to, be able to talk about it without going over the same things too much, repeating myself or boring anyone shitless, being boring. But also without...
Being an artist, you don't have a union. You don't have a union you can go to.
I think there is a union.
Well, there is a union.
I didn't know this.
I tried to join the artist union years ago, but I think you have to be. There's some qualifications you have to have. You have to be like established as an artist, and I'm not officially established.
Unions, haven't we?
Yeah. And
case.
I don't think a union would help with this situation, to be honest. But I have had help. And initially I didn't speak up because a lot of people around me told me not to rock the boat. And then I thought, fuck that, I'm going to talk. And then I went, oh, no, I need to sort some things out. And now I'm getting ready to talk. But it's kind of like, did you just talk about it as it happened as you went along? Or did you just... Because I've been doing... Sorry to interrupt, but what I've been doing is I've been collecting all my evidence. And then I thought I was going to do something with that, but I don't know.
Well, I spent a good 7-8 months looking into all this when it became super obvious that there's something really bonkers going on that somewhat passed me by because I just didn't pay attention. I guess this is the thing when you're so sort of in that field. I had a long conversation about that actually with God, what's her name now? Forgot, because she told me about you, Nina.
What are you drinking?
She did a film dysphoric. Oh my God, I can't believe I just...
Vaishnavi Sundar.
Vaishnavi Sundar, yes, exactly. We had a long conversation about that and she told me about you. And actually one of my patrons pointed me towards you as well with the amazing embroidery animations, which were just
thank you,
mind-blowing. No, seriously, I just sat in front of that like, what? There's so many skills involved there that my brain just was on overload. But I was so engrossed in this whole sort of alternative fetishy scene and stuff. It went past me. It completely, I was doing my art, I was doing my hairdressing, I was trying to concentrate on like becoming a successful artist on the side so I can give up hairdressing. It passed me by. And it really was the people around me that started to sound like complete loonies that made me kind of look up and go, what? And then I started to read into it. And much like Rachel, I had never heard the term TERF. I didn't know what that meant. And then as soon as I started reading about it and digging more and more, I thought, what the fuck is going on? And then
maybe I am one.
Huh?
Oh, maybe I am one.
No, I was definitely one. I mean, from the get-go, this was the thing. I was like, what the fuck? They can't mean that. It was such a what? And then I couldn't look away. And then I saw all these women online getting all the stick for saying the things that I completely agree with. And then because I used to run Vajestic embroidery workshops to support the Vagina Museum before I realized that they're completely off the deep end. I mean, I gave a vulva embroidery workshop at the Tate before I, found that people have gone off the deep end. And then I wrote, and I never wrote. I mean, I never wrote anything publicly, like a blog or anything like that. And the reason I did that was because the more I researched, the more I thought, fucking hell, how do they misrepresent these people so much? Like, I read what they say, and they're being portrayed as these absolute villains. So I don't know. I felt moved for the first time to accompany my artwork with a blog, and that blog was incredibly, I think the first version of it was something like 8,000 words. And then I gave it to my husband. This was a good test for our relationship because he had to go, that you can't publish that. Like, you'll be killed. I'm like, okay. So I had to write it about 5 times and then condense it down to about 5,000 words. There was a lot of anger initially when I wrote it, and it also not enough research done at that time. So, like, in the meantime, I learned more and more and more about what was going on. And then at some point, I was done with my embroidery. The Somewhere Over the Rainbow, something went terribly wrong. And then I thought, okay, right. I didn't have a date planned for when to publish it, but I had given it to a bunch of people in Soho Theatre as well, who I knew were sort of on the other side of this view, just to get a feedback, just to kind of see what, to gauge the response, which was interesting. Pretty much all of them went like, well, you're going to publish it anyway, aren't you? Well, and I did. And then it just went really horrible. Like, I knew it was gonna get horrible, but at the time I had sort of around about 40,000 followers on Instagram, and I thought, well, it's gonna be noisy. But I didn't quite have a concept of how noisy would feel and just how fucking horrible it would feel. And it felt nauseating. And I felt like I walked around for about 2 weeks feeling like someone just punched me in the gut repeatedly. Yeah. Physical, like, it was really nausea, horrible. And it wasn't that anybody, people were attacking me personally and everything. And it wasn't that I took anything of that personal, because I'm quite steadfast within myself, and I have a very sort of strong social support network, all of that. It wasn't that. It just felt medieval. It felt, I don't know. I think it must have sort of responded to something within that, the whole, like, being ostracized from the group, where you just go fly.
That's primitive.
Yeah, it was really bizarre. I just walked around thinking, and I didn't have to work for another week or so. And after that, I became really socially anxious, which is a bit unusual for me. But because I was working in such a central spot as well, and people knew, and they were attacking left, right, and center constantly, nonstop. I've not had my phone on loud since then, because my phone number was online from the hairdressing, and people would call me from fucking Canada in the middle of the night wanting to tell me what a horrible piece of scum I am and stuff. And it's like, wow. It was just, so never have I ever taken any of that personal as questioning myself, oh, am I really a bad person? Because I know why I'm saying these things, and I'm secure enough in myself. But it was this sort of sheer amount of it, the volume of hatred that was sort of washing over me repeatedly. That was like, wow. But
do you find the edges come off a little bit? Has that all calmed down a little bit?
The edges finally come off because of the Royal Academy thing. 100% for me.
Yeah.
It got so noisy. It got so utterly public, because once I realized that the press was completely behind me, because when it started out, I started talking to people kind of like very cautiously, thinking, oh, how are they going to twist that? And once I kind of got the idea that they were sort of firmly happy to let me just talk, I went, well, fuck it then. I'm going to talk. I can talk. Hairdressing for 22 years has provided me with ample opportunity to practice talking. And so I talked. And so this was the thing. I think a lot of people hoped that I would sue the Royal Academy, but I think it was so much more poignant to get an apology from them publicly, because like regardless of whether they meant it or not, and I do think that the guy that I spoke to, who happens to be the chief, I think he meant it. I genuinely think he did, because we spoke several times after that. But I also think that it's an entirely captured organization, and that they really need to clean house. And that's true for so many other organizations. And for me, it just felt like a vindication, you know, like it just felt like 2 years I've been shouting into the void. I've been like just seeing my follower count drop, and I don't give a fuck about that in terms of like, I don't know these people. And the majority of those that fell off are not the people that would buy my art anyway, but it does something to you, much like social media is an addiction where I have to put my phone to the side to not kind of get drawn in constantly again and again. It also does something to you when people kind of go like, fuck her, you know, just fuck off. It does something to you, especially when it's sort of business related, because much like Nina was saying that I'm part of the art establishment or art world, I'm really not. Like, I've been getting my stuff into gallery shows, but I've never, you know, I'm a hairdresser by trade, and I've been doing this and getting my stuff into places because I'm good at what I do, and and also I'm mouthy, and I'm just gonna, you know, sort of force my way in. But the Royal Academy thing was, it really helped in the sense that it brought it so public that it couldn't be ignored, you know.
I think all of you are incredibly talented, and reading the comments that they say about you all, they make you out to be mad, completely demented, or you're evil. You're not you're not in the between. You're mad or evil, and it's jealousy.
Or
because you're
radicalized.
very, very talented, all of you. I could never do anything like you. It's like, wow, my God.
Yes. I would say mad. Yes, I am mad. That's fine. But yeah,
That's just about to say, me too.
Mad as hell, not gonna take it anymore.
yeah. But no, I think because this is the artist special or whatever, just to mention education. Education is completely captured, and that is really important to say. Teachers, like one of the teachers at the RCA, for example, will go on about turfs being disgusting and blah, 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 blah. That's what's being taught at the top art colleges. It's what's being taught at the bottom. I've got friends who teach. They can't say anything. That's everywhere.
Yeah,
that's
totally.
everywhere.
I know, Rachel.
Right. That's really important to establish, because this is the next generation. Mm-hmm. The galleries and museums are totally captured too. So there's not that creative freedom. There will be no place within the institutions to show the work. People will not write about the work.
There will be. Don't do
your best is positive.
No. What I'm doing is I'm just telling the truth, because if people know the truth, then they can fight against it. You have to know what you're fighting against. And also to know, I mean, as I said, I know people have been decollected from collections, national collections. You see what I mean? So we're being, I hate the word erased, rubbed out. For a good old rubber.
So the local art store in my town has a big sign in the window that says "No turfs."
All right. Okay.
And right next to that sign, there's a sign that says "Hate has no home here." Hate has no home here.
A lot of the
no turfs.
A lot of the musicians I'm friends of. Sorry, a lot of the musicians I was friends with put "No turfs allowed" on their gig posters as well. I don't know how they're gonna check, but apparently they're gonna check. They're gonna check your thinking on the way into that gig.
Rachel, do you not a bit optimistic that the BBC are leaving Stonewall very drip?
Oh, the art world always wants to go the other opposite way. Do you know what I mean? It likes the persecute. I mean, it's controlled by wealthy people who don't give a shit anyway, but they like that bit of sort of persecution and victimhood there anyway. But I was going to say something I'd completely forgotten there because of that beer.
It was about education.
Captured organizations.
Rubbed out.
No, I understand your worry. I understand your worry.
Rubbed out, erased.
No, it was important.
It was rubbed out something.
Drink.
I think I rubbed that out.
Rubbed out. That's good. You've obviously been through this before. Rubbed out. No, I'm going to have to come back to it.
No, Rachel, I understand where you're coming from. Like, you're worried. My girls are at school and they are being taught this stuff, or they hear it, like they're seeing it on Insta. You know, their friends are saying all this stuff. So I do worry.
Right, I was coming back. Grants. Okay. How a lot of artists survive is by grants and awards, and they're totally inaccessible now. to people who are, I hate the word gender critical or whatever. So basically, it's forcing you into a position where you cannot practice. And that's problematic if you're not an artist who has things to sell. Do you know what I mean? But if you're not, so that's really important.
Yeah, I think about the festivals that have canceled me, apologizing to me, but canceling my work anyway. And I would love it if one of them one day apologized, not even to me, but to their audience, to the people that they are charged with, disseminating culture to. But what I see happening right now is this small, hopefully building groundswell of people that want to support us canceled female feminist artists, is that these institutions that are charged with disseminating art, they're not doing their job. And what's happening is they may be replaced by, this mass of people that's coming to support artists, if those masses of people grow. But these museums, they're not doing their job. The festivals are not doing their job. They're like utter failures when they do this. So to, help bring art to the people, it's like, like Graham Linehan's little newsletter is doing more to do that than this festival is.
But I guess we have the internet, we have Instagram, there's lots of ways of actually showing your work, and isn't it?
Yeah, but they find ways to capture that too. So one thing, before I ever got into gender critical radical feminism, I was hated because I'm a copyright abolitionist. And I distribute all my work free, peer-to-peer. I haven't always been a copyright abolitionist. I used to be really into copyright. But with the rise of the internet, and also with releasing my first feature film, Sita Sings the Blues, it was pretty clear that movie distributors, were not doing their job, that they were mostly preventing people from seeing movies. And they were fighting peer-to-peer sharing. But to me, it seemed like, peer-to-peer sharing is a much more efficient way of distributing art. So I want to get my art out there through peer-to-peer sharing. Unfortunately, what the blacklisting has done is it's ruined that. I had this terrific success with free distribution, but it doesn't work if anybody who shares or recommends my work loses all of their friends. Right. Because the way this is like, it's like peer-to-peer censorship now, right? Like you share something, but, oh no, you've shared the wrong thing, or you've liked the wrong tweet, and that's enough to ruin you. So now everybody is inhibited in terms of sharing work that they like. So I don't really know how to solve this. The internet is not what it used to be.
It is and it isn't. I think it is what it used to be, in the sense that we are just using and abusing it differently. The internet is just the thing that's there. But
social media is different, right? So when I was really succeeding, Facebook was like a year old.
Oh yeah.
And these walled garden, but the thing is, they've become really dominant. So most of the discourse that happens on the internet, unfortunately, is in these walled gardens, and they control speech. They ban like crazy, and it's not the same. It used to be blogs. It used to be the blogosphere. Before that, it was forums where everybody was responsible for blocking people themselves, and there wasn't a central. The whole point was the internet rooted around censorship, and yes, the infrastructure of it still does that, but the reality is that it's much more similar to the old broadcast model.
Yeah. But I think what I'm trying to say is that the way that we found each other is through the internet too, and there are a bunch, like what you were saying earlier, that currently it feels different for you this time, right? That people want to support you. So I think where you need to get your teeth in is those people that want to support you, let them support you, and get to share your work through those circles. It's maybe different circles, but it still nonetheless will find an audience, like maybe a different audience. But
no, that's all true. But this has been this is not what it used. The promise of freedom is not the same. It's much more difficult.
Oh,
Much more difficult for
100%.
people to
Yeah. No,
to
I'm not
do this
denying
now. And
that.
I've been peer distributed and fan supported, you know, through this whole thing before there was
Well, like
Patreon.
I heard about you because of someone who supports my stuff. Like that's how I found about you. So,
Yeah. So it's
Yeah, same.
possible, but my God, it's thick. And if you learn about what these platforms do, how Facebook tunes media, it's actually pretty terrifying. Because when this started happening to me in 2016, that was when I became really skeptical. I was like all, perfect liberal, lib femme, yay, trans rights, trans everything. I'm probably, what drives me crazy is when people say I'm transphobic. It's like, well, I had a couple trans lovers. Have you? Have you had sex with any trans people?
Nina,
I have.
Nina,
Yes, and I do.
Podcast. Can you tell us a bit about the podcast that you do?
Sure. Yeah. Now I do a podcast with Corinna Cohn, who is a transsexual. I can't even say Corinna Cohn is not a trans-identified male because Corinna is disenchanted and isn't really trans-identified at this point. Corinna, when he was 18 years old, signed up for surgery and has had no gonads and been on estrogen for a few decades since. But he is not a true believer.
Podcast then. Lighthearted.
Yes, it's a lighthearted podcast.
Oh, wait, no, it sounds
Corinna, if you in technically in Radfem speak, Corinna is a feminized eunuch. But Corinna is an awesome human being. I adore Corinna, and he's actually a lot cuter and passes a lot better than most trans-identified women. The podcast is called Heterodorks, and I wanted it to be called Turf versus Tranny, but we went with Heterodorks instead. We're heterodox dorks, and it's. We talk about all kinds of things. I think our most listened to podcast, we interviewed Grace Lavery. Do you know who that is?
Oh, I do. Yes. Isn't they post some crazy stuff on Twitter, like some.
Yeah. This was Corinna's idea. Corinna really wanted to because Corinna, said that like he can't get any trans activists to actually talk to him, and he's like, I'm a tranny, I should be able to talk to trans activists. So that's been our most heard episode because we just let Grace talk.
Okay, I can't wait to listen.
It is quite a document. But we've talked to all kinds of people. We just talked to Lisa Marciano last week, and
we spoke to her. She's amazing.
She's delightful.
I love her podcast and the theory. I love it. So futures, Rachel, where do you think you're going to be in the next year? What are you going to be doing? What projects? If you can, are you just going to drive into more museums?
Yeah, I've got a new van.
Good.
Excellent.
Paint on. I know what we're going to do. I've teamed up with a few girls. I hate me calling girls. I don't know what's wrong with calling women girls. Anyway, the lads, and we're looking at basically rectifying the things that we can't do. So we're looking at residencies, creating residencies for gender critical people. Getting funds to actually pay for writers to write about gender critical artists. Just basically all the things that aren't really accessible to us. So instead of like just being positive, instead of whinging about it, just actually basically putting in place. And to be honest, the grants and awards available to artists are so shit in the art world anyway. We're hoping to create more better funded ones.
And we can find you on Twitter and what else? On Facebook, Instagram?
In the pub.
In the pub.
What pub?
Oh, that was you. Oh, okay.
In the pub or in the badminton hall?
Probably unconscious somewhere.
And do you have an idea of what your organisation is going to be called? It sounds like
Yeah, well, yes, we sort of, I mean, we were sort of like really going for it. Then we sort of plateaued. So I think over the summer, everyone sort of had a nervous breakdown and had things to do. Because the thing is, once you get constant abuse, which you get constant abuse, it fucking knackers you. And I had that, and they were going for my family as well. So I had to pull back a bit and be a bit less obvious. So that's why I sort of went into retreat. Yeah, it's Tinapwa, the international network of powerful women artists.
Okay, that sounds amazing.
I like that.
I mean, it'd be great to have everyone on board because we just want to create a great big collaboration of everyone, just so we can put out these awards and these funding opportunities and stuff like that.
Yeah, and
who's gonna
donating? I'll be donating. I'll give you.
Donate, yes.
Who's deep? I mean, who's gonna fund? Like, do you have? It's usually
Me.
like
I'm gonna become rich and famous. I'm gonna
someone
fund
called
the
Jess
whole
the
fucking thing.
Wall. There's someone down Nina Paley. I've heard of her. She's on.
I don't think this is gonna succeed with the funding. If you're
No.
going
Not
after
with that
me.
attitude, Nina. Not with that attitude.
we have a few.
That's right. The problem with not having money is just the stigma and the attitude.
A few.
I can
I'm
give
gonna
you.
say, if I'm gonna hit the big buck, I'm gonna fund that.
No, we've got some wealthy turfs supporting the first round, so there's gonna be better funded than the stingy old art world. But we want to see really good content. We want to see people written about. I mean, because that's why women as general never get historicized to a certain degree because it's always men writing about them and male critics. So to be honest, I mean, it's probably pretty good that we've chucked out the art world anyway, because it's just made us sort of realize all that and do our own thing.
I think so. I don't think you necessarily need the art world. I've never been in the art world.
I know you don't. I know, but it's just like raspberry jelly.
I've put on my own pop-up shops. I've done my own exhibition. I've done my own tours and stuff. I've done everything by myself, and I've never needed anything from anyone. Apart from people to like my art and come and see it and support me in that way. So I think I'm positive for the future. I know you haven't asked me, Chinzia, where I see myself in the future, but I'm positive for it.
I like that.
You're the youngest of us. You have more future.
You mean she's the youngest?
Yeah, what do you mean? You're assuming our ages here.
I am. Maybe you're age fluid.
What if I identify as a pensioner? But yeah, I definitely see myself doing some exhibitions. I want to start locally, not just because the locals want to get rid of me, but because this is where I live and I love where I live. So I want to start locally. But I don't think we need the art institutions or industry or whatever it is you want to call it. I don't think we need it.
They have nice buildings, though. They have buildings.
They have buildings, and we're actually paying for them.
Yep, we can get nice buildings. It's fine. There's ways of doing things.
That's just.
I made that sound dodgier than I meant to, but
no. But I think you and I, Birdie, we have, like what Rachel was saying earlier. We've got commercial stuff that we can sell, and art and artists are different. And Nina and Rachel have stuff that needs space and spaces, so they're much more held captive by this bullshit. Well,
no, I mean, I don't really, but I do these quilts, right? So this side project I did was beautiful art quilts. They're huge. They should be hanging somewhere. They're not, and it's just like, I don't know how I'm going to get them to hang somewhere. It's like the only art that I've made. But
they will be hanging somewhere, Nina.
Where?
Well,
they're big. They're really big.
We'll make it happen. We'll make it happen.
I love you, my sisters. I love you.
We've got this on record. You're laughing now.
Maybe we should do our own art festival.
I think so.
Exactly. That's what's so nice about it.
Maybe we should put our own thing on.
Yeah.
We will put our own thing on. We will put our own
together. Yeah,
we can be founding fellows of the new art org, just like those founding fellows of the University of Austin.
Sit and watch it. I'm sitting here watching it. All you linking up together. It's so lovely. Jess, what are you doing for over the winter? Are you just going to be putting your head down, getting on with more projects for the summer?
That sounded enthusiastic.
Attitude, Jess. Come on.
Well, I have a ton of work, and it's Christmas, and because I'm one of those, like, I sell a shit ton over Christmas, I'm gonna be busy getting a shit ton ready to sell for Christmas. I'm also looking to fuck off out of London because I'm sick and tired of London, and I want to just be out and away from people. I have lots of plans for next year. I've got a huge piece that's sort of hanging right behind my computer that I'm gonna finish, and I'm gonna force it into some unsuspecting space.
Rachel's van. Rachel will smash into the museum with you.
Rachel and I will be smashing museums anyway. Yes. But yeah, no, I mean, yeah, like my aim has always been to bypass. I keep saying it, but I am a trained hairdresser, and my aim is to bypass art institutions because they've never worked for me. They never really helped me. And thanks to social media, I sort of managed to have my own sort of platform. But genuinely, like, my aim is to make a fuck ton of money and then throw it back into women's art.
I love that.
I know. That's the plan. That's always been the plan. So that's going to happen. And so you can name it, I can fund it, whatever. But like, that's the plan. That's the plan for next year. If it doesn't happen next year, then it happens the year after that. But it's going to happen. So.
And you're all in contact, yes? And I know there's more.
Well, we are now. It's great.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, Rachel and I hang out way more than
Kitty.
Well, I think we should definitely do some stuff because I've never had a gallery put up my work, but I've done my own exhibition, and I just rented out pop-up shops and stuff like that and did it myself. So I think we should do some stuff.
I think we should. I think that's great. Yeah, defo.
I've got airline credit. I can come to Turf Island.
Do it.
Oh, Island.
Lovely.
Seriously.
That'd be fantastic.
And honestly, Nina, I've been just going on about your stuff ever since.
I tell you what, Nina, it is your timing is incredible. I am in love with your timing. You're a genius.
I just knew the right time to get canceled for the zillionth time.
Yeah, but the timing in your films is just incredible.
Oh, that timing!
I'm a big freak on timing. It's just the music and the animation.
It's brilliant, isn't it?
Perfection.
I know. Literally,
you're so kind.
But it's the truth. It's like
the
someone,
truth.
It's like one of my patrons literally sent that to me because of the embroidery aspect, and they were like, "Oh, you need to check this out," and I was like, "What? It's so good. It's so good." Well, and it deserves to be shown. It deserves to be seen, and it will be shown, and it will be seen, and so will your quilts. I haven't seen them; they might be shit, but I'm joking.
I don't know about quilts and timing. How does that work?
I doubt they would be shit.
I don't think they're shit. They're pretty good, but
I don't think they're shit either.
So I wanted to ask you about your embroidery. So you do a lot of it by hand, but then the stuff that you sell, do you have that automated?
The patches I get manufactured, but everything else is hand.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, because the embroideration we did was machine embroidered with
and still, so the concept, the whole execution, it's just bloody mind-blowing. And the fact that it's embroidery, it's like well,
I don't know if you code the embroidery yourself, but it's not trivial.
No, it's not. I don't code it myself. I draw the design, then I give it to someone who puts it into the machine. Well, basically it goes back and forth about 6, 7, 8, 9 times.
Right. Stitch direction and all that. Yeah.
Because they send it back to me and I'm like, no. And then it goes back and then no.
Yeah.
And then yeah. So it takes a long time until it's right, and then it's right. And yeah. But it for me it was really helpful to fund my independence, really, to have the side hustle. So it allows me to do all my hand stitched stuff.
Nice.
But still, honestly, your work completely deserves to be seen. It's absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, I haven't had a screening in London. I think because I was cancelled, right? Sita had lots of screenings in London. There hasn't been a single screening in the UK, actually, of my sadomasochism.
Drive you around.
Put a projector on it. Back up one of those walls that says one of those walls that has the light that says trans women are women. We'll just back that van up and project sadomasochism right over that.
But you say that jokingly. You haven't seen Rachel walking around as a turf.
that was so lame. There was
no, it's so lame that it's fucking great.
There was a protest outside Filio, all the trans activists, so I dressed up as a turf. You know, just wore turf.
Turf. TURF.
Oh, you had like
because I misread it when I first was called a turf. I didn't know what to anyway. So and I just posed with them for photos.
Hence the dyslexic feminist. But she literally was a walking turf.
I've seen the picture.
Right.
I've seen it.
Like AstroTurf.
Yeah, like AstroTurf. That's
Got it.
So good.
It was really like 5-year-old humor.
So when she says that she's going to drive around your projection on her van, that's probably what's going to happen.
I'm down with that. Corinna wants to go too. Corinna wants us to do a podcast from Turf Island. So
do it. Come.
Yeah. Well.
Do it.
All right.
Tonight has been so amazing. I'm such a token oik here.
Who are you? Who's that person?
Token oik. You're all so talented. I think you're just masters in your artwork and what you do, animation, embroidery, and conceptual art. That's Rachel. Isn't that what you would call it? Is that what it is? Conceptual art. I think that's the word. That's
whatever.
How arty I am. Yeah, whatever. Yeah, whatever. Love that. But yeah, it's
and paintings. I can't do Birdie's there.
Birdie, her portraits are just masterful. They're beautiful. Absolutely beautiful portraits. And I just feel so lucky tonight. I can't believe you've had me. Thank you for having me. Thank you. All of you, we'll put links in our bios, in the underneath for all of your websites and social media. And I think we're going to wrap it up. Thank you everybody for watching, and we shall see you next week. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.